want to start the hour by kind of reminding all of us what this is, what week this is. We kind of forget everything. Time is upside down. We're sort of down the rabbit hole. Nobody knows what day it is. A lot of us, haven't left our homes in other than to go out and get some groceries for weeks now. There is a powerful metaphor to the week that we are experiencing. Passover, Holy Week, Easter Sunday. Gosh, it just speaks to what Americans are all experiencing to one degree or another. And while we get kind of optimistic about some of these numbers, in terms of starting to flatten the curve and starting to see a reduce in hospitalizations, starting to see a reduction in new cases. There is no reduction right now in deaths. There is the deadliest day yet occurred yesterday. In the last 24 hours, New York, I think, lost around 1,000 people. The five boroughs in New York City are reporting that all the funeral homes in New York are overwhelmed, having a very difficult time taking in all the bodies. And with this Holy Week metaphor, we do celebrate and rejoice in the risen Christ. We also remember his suffering and the pain and the anguish of him dying on the cross. I'm not a religious broadcaster. I'm not one of the splendid Christian broadcasters or Jewish scholars and a lot of people in the world that are way better versed at this than I am. I'm on a secular news talk, show where my company allows me to profess my faith whenever I want. I'm a Christian with a radio show, not a Christian radio show host per se. There's a genre, of course, for that many people do very, very well. So I don't want to proselytize, but I want us not to forget as we rejoice in our Savior's resurrection. I don't want us to forget the pain and suffering of so many people. I've been looking at these curves and these graphs and these models and these numbers without really paying enough attention to the fact that for every one of these deaths, there is grief, there is sadness, there is unspeakable tragedy. These families can't properly grieve together because of social distancing. In many cases, their loved one died alone. It is heartbreaking. It is tragic. May we never, ever go through this again. And we got to do everything we can to prevent it from happening again. So I just do believe there's a powerful story here behind Holy Week and what we are currently going through as a country. So just wanted to get that off my chest as we kick things off on this Thursday, April the 9th, here in the ReliefFactor.com studios. Again, not such good news.
Breaking now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
The U.S. weekly jobless claims number just came in, 6.6 million. There were 5 million expected. The jobless rolls are continuing to swell in America due to the shutdown of the economy. This brings the total over the past 3 weeks to more than 16 million Americans out of work. This most recent number, the Labor Department, again, they were hoping for 5 million, 6.6 million. And so now over 16 million people who are without a job. And again, part of the pain, the suffering, the tragedy that we're experiencing as a country. There is a lot of new news today. There are new guidelines from the CDC. I'm fascinated by the idea of these antibodies. I heard from one of my colleagues this week who is convinced that the key to opening up the country again is for those Americans who have been exposed to the virus to be tested to see if they have the antibodies, and the suggestion by Dr. Fauci that those people can go out into society again and re-engage. In other words, now again, I'm not a doctor, a scientist. I don't quite understand this. I'm not fully understanding if you've had coronavirus or if you've had COVID-19, if you have an immunity. Dr. Fauci and others seem to suggest you do. And to tell you the truth, I'm not so sure I didn't have it. And a lot of people listening to me didn't have it, and we don't know it. I saw a tweet. I told you about this tweet a week or two ago, but it has really stuck with me. Do you remember how many people were sick in January and February? Do you remember? I've got friends, one close friend in particular. She was on a plane. She was traveling. She got a fever, terrible fever, chills. She was sick as a dog. Do you remember when I was sent to CPAC into Washington, D.C.? Never made it inside the door of the convention because I was sick in bed with a fever. And I don't get fevers a lot. Last time I had a fever was when I had double pneumonia years ago in South Carolina on a trip there. I'm not typically a fever guy. Nothing in my lungs. I don't remember coughing. I don't remember having any breathing problems, but I definitely had chills. I definitely had a fever. I definitely had a hard time getting out of bed. When you're on a remote, when you represent your network and you're supposed to be broadcasting from the CPAC conference, and there's money behind that and the expenses and the big Mike Gallagher Show banner up there, and I couldn't go to the hotel, it's not great. It's not very good. So I wonder if I now have these antibodies, and because incidentally, since that 3 or 4 day period when I was pretty sick, I've felt like $1,000,000. I'm on the exercise bike. If you watch the show, I'm very proud of having lost about 25 pounds since the end of January. I've been practicing my regimen, and I've been pretty disciplined. I figure, hey, I can't control anything else in the world. I can try to control my health and my body a little bit and lose some weight because I desperately needed to. So, I'm feeling fantastic. Is this the key? Could a simple blood test for COVID-19 antibodies help? Could that be the key that opens the economy again? The idea behind this, and again, I've got colleagues, Hugh Hewitt says this is it. This is the game changer. The concept is people who have been exposed form antibodies in their bloodstream that may help them fight off another infection. The hope is that the body's antibodies against COVID-19 can diminish the chances of reinfection. The theory is those found to have immunized antibodies could then return to work and help reignite the economy. Labs are scrambling to develop and distribute serologic tests, according to ABC News, in large quantities. The federal government is doing its best to expedite an approval process that normally would take a long time. We've seen Trump time. Trump time is different. Trump time, things get expedited. In Trump time, things happen very quickly. Is this the key? Let me just ask you.